Hello, everybody. I am so excited to introduce my friend and colleague, Ro Huntriss, to the Beyond the Clinic podcast. We're going to be talking today about Ro's journey in her freelance business and her private practice, and in particular, how she's ended up being one of the biggest experts in our field in the fertility space. So welcome, Ro. Thanks very much for coming on the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm really glad to be here with you today because, as we were saying just before, I think we've got a lot of alignment on a lot of different things, and our journeys have been in parallel and we've been alongside each other. So I'm really happy to be here with you today talking about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely right. We've known each other for quite a few years, but only actually met in real life maybe a year ago.
I know, it's mad. And then I saw you, I thought I'd seen you loads of times, but actually in reality haven't. But
Yeah, it's pretty, isn't
built
it?
up a great friendship over the years.
Yes, definitely. I always like to ask people what their journey has been and how you went from graduating from university to where you are today as a dietitian. Do you want to just give us a little bit of the history of Ro?
Sure thing. Okay, so I think just even to start in terms of dietetics, I fell into that, to be honest. And then when I found out, I was like, oh my God, okay, this is great. This is something that I can really get on board with. And when I started in the NHS back in 2011, really enjoyed it. I did really enjoy it. But quite soon into that, I was like, this is good, this is great. But I was always just looking for that little bit more. I didn't feel 100% fulfilled. So yeah, in then 2013, I set up my business. And it was, I think what I was craving is I felt that I could give more. I felt that I could do more. I had quite a creative brain, or potentially the beginnings of an entrepreneurial brain. And I wanted to be able to do something with it. And then also, ideally, I wanted to earn more money. So putting those things together, the natural thing is to start up a business. So I started doing all sorts of things, really. I was trying to think about what would people want, what services do people want out in the general public. So started with just doing things like meal plans. So I set up a website for it. I got my head around accounting and different things like that, but tried different things. I did clinics with doctors from the NHS that I met. I did home visits, all sorts of things. And then a pivotal moment was actually when I got my first retainer with a brand.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, okay, this is something that we can do. So then that was when I think things stepped up a bit for me personally within my own business. And it coincided with when I think I was looking to make my move away from the NHS. I wanted to branch out beyond that. And I think a lot of people will know, working in the NHS, that sometimes there can be, if you're doing lots of things externally, there can sometimes be conflicts. So I didn't want to have to close down some of the things that I was doing, because it felt very much the beginning. So that was that. And then that was growing. And then alongside that, I then moved from the NHS to a company called Oviva, who are a digital behavior change company, health tech. And it's dietitians plus an app type thing. And I was able to still build my own business alongside that. And then 3 years ago, I left Oviva and I joined forces with a tech. So I actually work for that tech firm now as their chief nutrition officer. But at the same time, my business has expanded greatly since then. And then the other pillars. So I have a great contract there with that tech firm. And then I work for different brands and businesses. And I like it because some of them are bigger and well known, and some of them are startups. So I work with the brands in a variety of different ways. It can be strategy. It can be research, it can be product development, it can be content. Sometimes I don't do that many ads now, but occasionally things like that. But yeah, it can be consulting. So I work with brands in a variety of different ways. And that can be in the specialist area of fertility that we'll go into talk about next, or just general nutrition and kind of nutrition science. And then, yeah, the third kind of arm to this is Fertility Dietitian UK, which is my online platform, and we support women, men and couples on their journey to conception and beyond through making dietary and lifestyle modifications to help them to get there. And that came about, I just feel so lucky and grateful that I found it, because I don't know whether we've done a similar course, Sarah, but one of the courses that I did, it's called Beat the Algorithm. Did you do that?
No,
as
I
well?
haven't.
No,
No.
okay. So it was one that was actually like around Instagram, but one of the things was find a niche. And then I have just like a general dietitian page, which is just at dietitian Ro on Instagram. But it was incredibly generalist, and it continues to be generalist to this day. But I knew in the back of my mind, if really I wanted to build something, I needed to find a niche. And yeah, for a variety of different reasons, fertility just really piqued my interest, namely friends who were struggling to conceive and really wanted to know what they were able to do in the diet and the lifestyle space. And there was just such little support for them there. I was like, oh my God, there's this gaping hole where people need this support, but there wasn't really the representation from dietetics
Mm-hmm.
there. And then so I was years looking at the research, gathering everything together. There was so much. And then that was when I started in 2020, the online platform. So I started the Instagram, initially just like sharing information, starting to become like a trusted person, a trusted professional in that space. And then off the back of that, it led to, okay, I can be a service provider here as well. And it was very much as I was sharing all this information, I was also listening to my audience in terms of what problems did they want solving? I think I know as a healthcare professional what I want to share with people, but what are the problems and how can I help? So off the back of that, we developed a lot of like digital offerings, online courses and e-guides and meal plans that basically serve a different aspect of the fertility journey. So we have the ones on like egg quality, on sperm quality, on IVF, on implantation, on PCOS, etc. Because we were just listening to the needs of our audience. And then we've also got an online clinic, a girl, Claire, that works for me. She delivers this for us at the moment. And then because on my page, I have a lot of nutritionists and dietitians and healthcare professionals who follow me as well. And they were like, oh, I'd really love to learn about this. Where did you learn? How can I learn? And I was like, well, I was self-taught. But then that was my calling to put my course together, the fertility nutrition course for healthcare professionals, which has been incredible. I think it launched, was it 22, November 22? So yeah, it's been going for over 18 months, coming on for 2 years now. And it's been amazing to be able to educate so many people. And it's not just dietitians now. So there's dietitians, nutritionists, we have ecologists, doctors, midwives, fertility nurses, acupuncture. It's been absolutely incredible. So as part of this fertility space, we've got like the patient facing stuff to do, but I actually love the healthcare professional education as well, because it's just, we're obviously looking at the same topic, but it's just coming at it from a completely different angle. And I've always, similar to you, Sarah, been a huge advocate of career development. So I really like actually supporting people in the development of their own careers and adding this as a string to their bow. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's where I'm at the moment.
Amazing. That is such an inspirational story. I love all of that. And I just love the fact that you said early on you recognized that you needed to niche down, which is absolutely right, because it's really hard to talk to lots of different people. And then the other thing that you said there is actually you did your market research. You went and listened to what their problems were, what they were struggling with, and then provided solutions to that. Because I think one of the things that I find certainly with a lot of my clients is we come into our freelance businesses knowing what we want to help people with, but often that isn't what they want help with. We come to it as a healthcare provider rather than thinking about what they actually want and how that impacts on their everyday life. So I love the fact that you did that. And like you say, you've seen the success of that. It really has had a massive impact. So tell me a little bit about how, so you've got your clinic that you do with couples or people trying to conceive, and then you've also got your course. Is the course that you do for healthcare professionals, is it self-paced or do you do that live, or how does that look?
Yeah, so basically, I am always the kind of person who wants to make things as easy as possible.
Yeah.
And for me, my main barrier with everything, with progressing my business further, is always time. It's always time. So the way in which I've set this up is that it requires as little of my time as possible going forward. Obviously, there was a lot that went into it at the beginning.
Yeah.
And actually, one of the things that we do is we've just done an update for 2024. So all of the research, new research that's come about over the past 18 months, we've now added that as well, and people get that free of charge. But basically, it's all pre-recorded. So there's different modules, and people can literally then utilize it however they want. So they can go and blitz the whole thing in a weekend if they wanted to. But what we tend to advise is do a module per week, because there really is a lot. And there's additional reading as well. So there's a lot for people to take in. So yeah, it's pre-recorded, it's evergreen, it's open all the time. And it just seems to be a model that really works. So there's video, there's slides for each of the modules, and then I present the slides, and that's all recorded there. And then we just have different downloads available in each of the different modules.
Brilliant. And do you do office hour Q&A sessions, or is it completely self-paced? They just do their own thing and come out the other end having done the course?
It's completely self-paced. People may email me to ask questions about particular things, but yeah, it's very much self-served.
Yeah, love it. So it's proper passive income stream, isn't it?
Yes, it's passive income to a T.
Yeah, brilliant. And so tell us, actually, you've been asked to do something rather special off the back of the success of that course, haven't you?
Yeah, and I'm so grateful for this. So I think it's the majority of dietitians who listen to this podcast,
Yes.
so many will be familiar with the Manual of Dietetic Practice. So the big blue book that we all used to lug around. And yeah, just as there was never, and it still is not, any fertility nutrition education on the curriculum for dietitians, there wasn't anything in the manual either. So for the first time, there is going to be a section on fertility nutrition in the Manual of Dietetic Practice, and they invited me to write it.
Yay.
So I'm very, very happy about that. I think it maybe shows me that the work that I'm doing is being noticed.
Yes.
And also something that's very much at the center of what I do and what we do as dietitians is that what we talk about is evidence-based.
Yes.
Because there's been issues in terms of nutritionists or people who aren't even nutritionists just talking about fertility nutrition online, and some of it's nonsense, and that can actually be quite dangerous. So in all of the communications I do, whether it's on Instagram, whether it's in newsletters, whether it's on the course, it's backed by research. And I think and hope that was noticed. And potentially these are reasons together why I was asked to do the chapter.
Yeah, that is so amazing. Congratulations. It's a real testament to your expertise and being the top person in dietetics in the field of fertility. So that's really good. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Would you mind just digging into how you sell the course? So I love the fact it's evergreen, because I'm a total passive income queen. That's how I really want my businesses to run as well. And I have various evergreen products in my business as well. But I'd just love to know what does your customer journey look like? How do you go from people not knowing you or just finding out about you for the first time to actually becoming a customer?
Yeah, and I think to add here, we've also got a course which I think we're going to revamp and change the style of it a little bit, but a similar kind of course for patients.
Okay.
With that, it's called the Fertility Food Formula, and that was really heavily dependent upon launches to sell. And I don't know about you, Sarah, but I find launches really quite exhausting.
Yes.
Really exhausting. So the fact that I don't have to launch the healthcare professionals course, is just great. Sometimes I will, on my Instagram, so if people come and look at my profile, I have pinned posts. And one of the pinned posts is about the course for healthcare professionals. And just to note as well, which I think is really useful to have, it's been endorsed for CPD by the British Dietetic Association, and also the Association for Nutrition, which I think are great things and important things to have it. I think this is one of the things that helps people build trust in you, even if they don't know you. They're oh, okay, these two important bodies have backed it. So it's got, and all of the content has been reviewed. So it has to be.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, exactly. It has to be of high quality. So so that is there. But I think generally I try to position myself as a credible source of knowledge, of information, and that people could learn from me. And a lot of the content that I discuss, as I say, it's evidence-based, but I have to make it relevant for patients, but also so healthcare professionals can learn from it as well. So people find me in a variety of different ways. So it may be via Instagram, but also the SEO on my website, I would say is pretty good. I know I've got like room to improve, but I think it's in a good place right now. So I have people from all over the world come and find me and come and find the course, and they find me via Google. So it can be that way. And then the other ways are like doing events. It might be that I'm doing a webinar or an in-person event where the audience may be a potential future audience for my course. So it's a mixture of different things. And say, for example, when it was Dietitians Week in June, I don't often do offers. It's quite rare that I'll do like an offer across the board, but I did. So I think sometimes we can utilize particular weeks as well. And it can be a useful tool, especially when something is evergreen and it's open all the time, because there's no urgency. But if you have a coupon, if you have a coupon code, a discount code, and that's done in 2 weeks, then people then have that incentive. So that can be a useful thing. And say if I'm doing a talk, then I may give a discount code for a week after or something like that. So yeah, I think all of these things help, but I just think like getting yourself known is when loads of dietitians did FODMAP, and they'd either do Monash or they'd do King's College. It's like people knew that those are the people that they wanted to go to. So I just want to keep myself there in that position as that trusted source and the person to go to, and somebody who is ultimately going to enable the expansion of somebody's own either clinical skills or business. And another thing that I've done as well, so like my course is like 695, but there's another course that's like an Australian one, which is 3 times the price. So even though it might sound expensive, for everything that you get there for a really niche area of fertility, it's very competitively priced and much cheaper than other options that are out there.
So what I'm hearing is actually what you're doing is you're almost targeting people who are solution aware. So they are actively looking for the CPD, the solution to their problem. Their problem is they want to learn more about this area. So you're actively targeting them. And because they are in that stage of awareness in their buyer journey, you don't actually need to do much in the way of a sales campaign.
Mm-hmm.
You can write your blogs and get them in through your website that way, and then they just click and buy. Or you can create a social media post and they can click into your bio and buy that way. So you're not actually you've got no funnel, essentially. You're targeting people right at the very bottom of the funnel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. And because I've done like different courses and other things like that on funnels, and we have funnels for patient facing stuff.
Yes.
But with this, like people just, and then they just they go for it. So it's a really nice
hotter audience. Yeah, cool. And so what does it look like in comparison to your course that you have for clients? So with that one, you said you needed to do the live launches. So one of the things I'm noticing now in all aspects of business is that the funnel is a lot longer. The buying journey has changed. And so previously we could do a couple of weeks of social media posts. We could then invite them to a webinar. We could pitch on the webinar and you would get sales. Now I'm seeing that's a lot longer.
Yeah.
What's your experience been around selling to customers as opposed to other businesses or professionals?
Yeah. So actually where we see our greatest, so we've got three options. We've got the virtual clinic, we've got the meal plans and guides, and then we've got like online course.
Yeah.
And the one I think that probably works the best at the moment is the meal plans and guides.
Yeah.
It's at a really nice price point. It's like they're £39 to £49. So it's not something that's like too much for people, and there's a lot of value in them. And I find that people can either find us online, or we used to be really quite bad about telling people what our services were. We're a bit better with that now, but it's also like finding that balance of not being too salesy.
Yes.
But the issue that we have is, so we've got like those guides, but then I feel like the next step is missing. And this is why, like with the patient facing course that I've got, I do think that I want to redesign it slightly. I think like in hindsight, I designed it like similar, exactly what I said at the beginning. Like I'm going in there with like my own thoughts, and
Mhm.
I've got ideas as to how I can make it into more of a like a patient friendly journey. Even though like everybody goes through it and they love it, I feel that there could be enhancements that I could make that could then lead it into a funnel, so going from the guide and then to the course.
Yes.
Yeah, so in terms of like the funnel for that those are still things that we're like trying to figure out the best journey, because I
Yes.
would say that's probably like one of the things that we could improve, is that we can be like, people can come and they have a consultation, or they have 2 consultations and then they go, or they buy a guide and then they go. So we need to think more about like retaining that
Yeah.
client and kind of, supporting them on a journey, as opposed to just like one off.
Yeah, that whole ascension model, isn't it? Yeah, where one thing leads to the next.
Yeah.
And that is how you make a lot of money, because you sell multiple things to one customer. And it's much easier to upsell and cross-sell than it is to attract new people all the time, isn't it? Yeah, yeah. This has been amazing. I've loved this chat. Can I end our conversation with 5 quick fire questions?
Yes.
Brilliant. That's great. Thank you. I'd love to know, what's the best bit of your working day?
The best bit of my working day. This is probably like a random answer, but I actually really, because Monday to Friday, I honestly feel like, because I have so much going on, it's like firefighting. It's chaos, but in a good way. So actually like my favorite time to work is sometimes when I have a period of time when other people aren't working. So it's if I have a slot on like a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday morning where I can just sit there in peace, absolutely like blitz things. I actually really enjoy that. And people say, oh, like it's eating into your weekend. Like for me, my work and building my business is also my hobby. I genuinely enjoy it. I love reading new research. So yeah, that, to be honest, it's just time that I really enjoy.
Yeah. And I love that phrase, if you do something you enjoy, it'll never feel like a day's work in your life. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant. And that probably leads us into question 2, actually. Why do you do what you do?
So, especially with the fertility stuff,
Mhm.
it is the most rewarding field to work in when you actually stop and think what you are helping people to do. And if we've spoken about like the healthcare professional side of this, but it's like, ultimately, what are they then going to be able to do? They're going to be able to support people to bring new life into the world. And like when we're supporting patients through an IVF journey, they've had like infertility for 6-8 years, and we help them to make those tweaks. You can't put a price on that, like that satisfaction. So I
Yeah.
actually really hope that until I retire, that I will always work within the fertility space within some context. But also like there's great value in terms of working with brands. I love working with big names and big brands that I've known ever since I was tiny, and now I'm working with them and helping them to progress their business. It's just, something that makes me happy. And I also love getting new startups out to market and helping them to science proof what they're doing. And with tech, like with the app that I work for, it's like the scope, even some of the things that we've achieved now and the scope for what we could achieve with tech, with AI, it's really inspiring. It's really motivating. Like our app, it's had 17 million downloads worldwide. So it just goes to show these things that we're doing in the background, the potential impact is just huge. And that's why I really love doing all 3 things. And I'm not ready to say goodbye to any of them, which is why I have to work on weekends.
Oh, and I think that actually probably leads us quite nicely into question number 3. And I think I probably know the answer to this already. And it's tech, love it or hate it.
So obviously, I have to love it, and I do love it. And one of the reasons for me leaving the NHS and moving into tech as well, again, it was just seeing it's the potential of what it's been able to do already. But now with things like GPT and AI and things like that, the potential for it is just so huge. But also, I'm very like aware of things that I could bring into my business, like tech solutions that I can bring into my business to improve productivity and things like that. And I'm sure that there are more things that I can do to make my business even more efficient. So always on the on the lookout for things like that.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with you. I think it is definitely the way forward. And in particular, in our businesses, it's what buys us the freedom. For anyone who's listening, who's frightened of the tech, please don't be, because honestly, it'll be the best thing you ever do is to learn to love it. Question 4, how do you stay motivated? Because you're incredibly motivated. I can see this passion just exuding everything you're saying.
Yeah, and I think that's probably like one of the important things is do something that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
And yeah, fair enough, when you go into the NHS, it might be, okay, like I'm getting my first job or I'm doing this. But then like after that, you then have the choice. You can decide where you go and work. And yeah, hopefully you can tell like fertility is something that I just have a huge passion for, which makes it really easy to be motivated. And similarly, like with the work that I do in tech, that really motivates me as well, because I just find it really exciting. So maybe if you're in a position or if you're in a working environment that doesn't motivate you, then maybe challenge it. Is it the right place for you?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And just linking back to what you said right at the very start, when you were describing your journey about feeling as if, you loved your job, but actually it just wasn't enough. I get that, because that's what I felt for 22 years. I can't believe it took me that long to be able to do something about it. But it just felt as if there was more, and I didn't know what that more was yet. Yeah,
exactly. And it's a good point that people can do this at any change. People can set up their own business straight away, or they can be in the NHS for 20 years and then still go and create this like absolutely incredible business. So it doesn't matter at what point of your journey you're at. If you feel that you could or should be doing something else, go and seek it.
Yes. Yeah. Love it. Brilliant. And my final question for you is, what's one thing you know now that you wish you could tell your former self when they were just starting out in business?
I quite like the fact that I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
Because obviously at university, they don't teach you anything to do with business. I wasn't, and I'm guessing it was the same for you. Like we weren't trained that way. We were trained clinically. So it's like everything that I've done or I've figured out, something's taken me there. So actually, I don't think I necessarily would have told myself anything, because I feel that I've either asked the questions or gone and explored something, or I figured out the answers to get me places. And I think it's actually a really nice part of the journey. And I still think now there's loads of things that I haven't figured out. So like we've had conversations about ads. That isn't something that I've explored yet. I haven't found the answers to that yet, but I like the fact that I don't know them right now, but I'm pretty confident that I will be able to find them. And that's something that makes the journey really quite exciting for me. And also, it's that sense of reward, like when you get there, okay, I figured it out. But I think one reflection is like thinking back to my early days, or just like when I was in the NHS earlier on, I definitely had limiting beliefs, because I was like, I looked at like the agenda for pay, like the pay scales. Is it agenda for change? Pay scales.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, so I'm in this band now, so the top of it's that, and it will take me 1 year to go up each rung, and then it's like going there. And I was like, oh, so I can be earning that by that age. And I was like, but I literally thought that was it. Okay, I'm here, that is going to be my potential like earnings. And I believed that for a little while. And then I really started to explore things. I was like, no, there is so much more out there and available. So yeah, it was just an interesting reflection that I did have a limiting belief, but I worked through it. And actually with the help of like audiobooks, and I think like also surrounding yourself with people who are ambitious, successful, risk takers, but in a good way.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I think it opens up your mind to possibilities, and it motivates you to go in that positive direction.
Yeah, brilliant. So it's really about enjoying the journey, isn't it?
Yeah.
And lifelong learning. But it doesn't have to be lifelong learning with a clinical hat on. It's a much wider scope.
Yeah, definitely.
This has been brilliant. Thank you so much for your time, Ro. Where can people buy your course, and where can they connect with you if they want to learn a little bit more about what you do and how you can help them?
So on Instagram, I'm at Dietitian Ro, and then my fertility page is at fertility.dietitian.uk. So come and find me on there. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Ro Huntriss. And yeah, if people are interested in fertility nutrition, then you can find details of that on my Instagram page or on my website, which is fertilitydietitian.co.uk.
Fantastic. And I will put all of those links in the show notes so they're clickable and easy for people to access.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Sarah.
Thanks for coming.